Good evening, everyone. Hi, welcome to Mudita. Mudita, I'll just give about her. Mudita is a visual artist who primarily works with clay. She received her BFA in ceramics from Kalabhavan, Vishwa Bharati University, Santiniketan, and MFA from Faculty of Fine Arts, MSU, Vadodara. Inspired by the use of clay in the folk tradition of India, she began working extensively in terracotta. Her practice is informed by the idea of space and dimension. She is interested in exploring the fluidity of various dimensions of the multiplicity of layers within the structure of existence. Member of International Academy of Ceramics, Geneva, Mudita has been invited to various residencies and has exhibited extensively nationally and internationally. Her works are in the collection with Mark Rothko Art Center, Latvia, FULE International Ceramic Museum, China, Mehmet Nuri Gocen Foundation of Culture, Education and Art in Turkey, Asna, Karachi, Pakistan, and Bharat Bhavan, Bhopal, India, to name a few. The artist lives and works from her studio in Indore, India. Over to you, Mudita.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Although I can't see any of you, but then I think we should start. Um, it's actually been quite interesting to when Falguni asked me to present, and I brought all my old works out, and I was looking at the pictures. It was very interesting to actually look at the journey back again after quite a few years, because last I did that was when I was doing a presentation for Sandeep during the COVID times. That was also the time when there was a huge amount of shift in I would say my life, although it's not like that big, but yeah, we were moving from our ancestral house to the new house, and the whole responsibility of making the house was on me. I very bravely said yes to it, but it was quite an experience, and I think actually that is exactly what I would like to talk about over here, because when I was thinking of what I should be presenting, there were many realizations during these last 5 6 years post COVID, specifically because a lot of things for everybody changed during that time, and there was a lot of time to actually think about how things are. And because otherwise, during your practice you keep working, you keep doing things, and things just keep rolling one after the other. Very few times you get a chance of pausing and really looking back, reflecting, understanding what's working, where it's working, how it's working, and things like that. Although of course that happens while you're working, when you're creating your own work, your thought process, etc. But sometimes the bigger picture comes, at a time when something really big is changing in your life. And that happened, and I think it's taken me about 4 to 5 years to actually settle down now, finally. But yeah, so I think that's exactly, I would be talking about the changes and how things happened, and how I basically understood myself through my practice. The reason I would call it a practice is also because the work continues, work kind of just carries on. But when we are calling it a practice, a lot of other things also kind of come in. It's not just clay work, it's so many other things you're doing. So, interestingly, a friend of mine, when we were making the house, she said that, when you I said, I think I just hope that I don't get too overwhelmed with the, making I was getting very overwhelmed with the whole process of making the house. So she was like, just take it as one of your projects and it'll just work out fine. And it actually did, it actually became one of my projects, minus the other how do I say, the crash course of real life. But other than that, it was a fantastic experience. So I think a lot of changes. So when I reflect back, when I look back at my works, a lot of changes have happened It has affected my work through different phases. And what I saw while putting the pictures together was that it was always this desire to, after a particular point of working, of continuing to work, there was always this desire to shift from that space, because while practicing, while working, you get so comfortable with what you're doing that there is a time when you get kind of bored, and it like the back of your hand as to whatever you're doing at that time. And so those phases have come, and then I've looked for something which has been completely out of my comfort zone, and that has worked fantastically for me, because the minute there is a challenge, there is a renewed energy there. You are back again with more vigor. You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to make the most of those challenges, work further with it, and stuff like that. So I think what I'll focus on are those little turning points that came in through in my practice, during my practice. The beginning part will kind of go a little fast, so that basically, I think most of you would know what the works, and also it's just to basically thread the whole thing to the end. So I go a little fast in the beginning, and then the story of the making of the house and how the work happened at that time. So I'll start with the. So this was my studio in the ancestral home. I did my bachelor's from Santiniketan, and I went in for ceramics for after my 10th standard, because they basically allowed admissions after 10th as well as after 12th. And I just could not relate to school at all. Now at this age, I realize why I cannot relate to it is because there were certain things, like the whole framework thing, whole being in that whole uh, framework of do it this way and do it that way, and not really that exploring part over there. So that I could not relate to, or basically it just didn't go with my temperament. So school was how you call childhood trauma, probably something like that for me. But then, so my mother herself is also an artist, and she asked me, "What do you want to do? You have to do something." So when she said that, why don't you try for, would you like to do ceramics? And I had seen some potters in the Kumarwada in Gwalior itself. And I was very keen on that, because there was Gwalior Potteries. There was a factory over there in Gwalior, which had functional pottery was produced over there. Now it's shut down. But yeah, so basically those were the things that were I was introduced to ceramics through those things. And I immediately said, yes, this is something I can relate to. I can't do what you are doing. I can't do the other things. So I definitely would like to give this a shot. And that's how I applied for Santiniketan. I got through, and then that was life changing for me, because one, it was a totally free space, meaning there was a curriculum, but there it was a very organic curriculum. It was like, when you one for people who know Shantiniketan and for people who don't know Shantiniketan, at least during our time, there were different festivals celebrated during seasonal changes. So there was something called Vriksha Ropan, and that is when, when the rainy season is coming and the crop changes. So those are the little festivals that we used to have, and there were functions circulating around those things. And of course, we were studying outside. We were free to move around here and there in the campus, in the university area, outside in the villages that were surrounding us. There were farms, there were open fields. Something for a person like me who had come from a city, even at that time, like this I'm talking about, was 1993, where cities were also not overcrowded like how they are today. But even then, that space felt like extremely liberating space, extremely open, extremely free. These words I can use today because now I can relate to what those things were, or what they imparted or what I absorbed from that space. But at that time, it was just very random absorbing. I could absorb it, but I didn't know what exactly I was absorbing over there. So anyway, Shantiniketan did not have a very, very great ceramic department in terms of technical things, but that also, and of course, the support of our teachers, because the relationship with all our teachers was fantastic. It was very home-like. There was minimal distraction. हमें वहाँ पे we never even got chocobar ice cream at that time. So I remember coming home and then first thing we would go and have chocobar ice cream. So there was some local ice cream over there at that time. So it was that isolated. Um, so yeah, so distraction ke naam pe there was nothing. So it was either you just cycle around here and there in the villages, in the towards the Kopai Nadi and things like that, or you basically go in your studios and work, or you go out for sketching and stuff like that, for outdoors and stuff like that. So I think that those 5 years, the amount I have absorbed, that open space, the whole idea and understanding of what being free meant, because the teachers never said don't do this. They would always say try it. अच्छा ये नहीं है, ये फटी नहीं है, इसको इस तरह से try करो. And since the facilities were not so great, we developed our own things. We found jugaad ideas. There's a submission but we haven't fired, ye bhatti full ho gayi hai, so we need something else, so fat we would just put bricks together and then start firing there again and stuff like that. So that, I think, over the years has helped me a lot in my practice and in being able to adapt to circumstances where things are not available, or the things that I would like to have, or even for that matter, to being open to exploring absolutely something different. So Shantiniketan happened, and then I went to Baroda for my masters. Baroda was very different. Baroda was very professional. Baroda was more it was basically polishing your language. It was a place to develop your language. It was to become an artist in true sense. So it was more like how you talk about your work, how you experiencing new things. Glazes, of course, I learned, and I got introduced to proper glazing in Baroda, not in Shantiniketan. So Shantiniketan was something where I was seeing a lot of these mud architecture, because हम जब गांव में जाते थे, there were all these mud houses around, and so that of course left a imprint on my being. And uh, somewhere I think also I related to living with the basics very, very nicely when I was in Shantiniketan. So that again, at that time I did not realize, but over a period of time I realized that I like it when it's uncomplicated and absolutely at its most basic level. I am not very keen on having machines around or tools around. I would rather just have the clay and my hand and work with it directly. Whatever material I'm working with, I would like to have it more direct association with that particular material. So Shantiniketan definitely enhanced that whole liking of the thing. And so Baroda was very interesting because it gave me a lot of exposure in terms of different techniques, high temperature firings, how do you look at different kinds of work, how do you talk about it. Many, many new friends in Baroda, which are friends even now. We had some fantastic residencies post my college. We worked together in ceramic center. Zaida is there, I can see. And Falguni and I did one. That was my first residency ever after college, where Falguni and I were together in ceramic center. And yeah, so that was another time when I was exploring many things which I had not otherwise. So it was also an opening for me to understand what is it that I like more, whether I like glazed, because there was a lot of fascination towards glaze, naturally, towards functional pottery. But since I did not get that in Shantiniketan, I was looking for it, really looking forward to it in Baroda. And when I did all that, and I was also doing the sculptural work, that is when I actually started realizing how much I missed that open space of Shantiniketan. And that started coming into my work. And from there, my work turned towards, say, architectural structures. And, I would take things from actual architectural monuments and use the timelessness of that and represent the spaces around and things like that. So that time I was looking at physical architectural structures. Then slowly after Baroda, I taught there for 2 years. Then I kind of came back to Indore. I decided I want to set up my own studio. And then this shed was made at the backyard of our house. This was the ancestral house. And yeah, so this is slowly then I built up the space. And this is where I worked for almost, I think, more than 20 years or so, around 20 years, till 2019 I was working here. Now, these are the works from so these are the dwelling series. Then after a certain point, when when I was looking at the architecture outside. After that, slowly then the journey became inwards, and I was looking at how I respond to space. And then the forms kind of slowly became abstract, and that is when these kind of dwelling series, the water series, all of these started coming in. So this particular work was in my studio for the longest time, and there have been generations of squirrels that were there, that were born there. And then once I came to Indore, that's when I actually started connecting with a lot of my older friends and people I knew, even the new acquaintances. And by that time, everybody had started their professional journey. So it was very strange for me because Indore didn't have much of an art scene at that time, or at least I was not in touch with anyone as such. So the people I would interact with would be people from here and there, from different places. And a lot of, so for me it was representing the urban life of a city. A lot of these works come from that space where I would long to see the moon, but there would be buildings all over, so I can't see the moon. So then this work kind of came in, the hidden moon, in search of the moon. And then there were these cycles where we used to cycle around in Shantiniketan. So that kind of came into my work. Um, then of course we used to just walk around here and there. So there is this whole thing. So of course there was always this thing of using different materials as well. Not See, clay was of course the main material, but the minute there was always this fascination for some other material which will enhance the quality of clay as well, or bring out the contrast between the two materials. So when I did this work called Nowhere to Walk, it was basically a take on how there's a lot of industrial, or not industrial exactly, but urban cities, urbanization that's happening, and there's hardly any place to walk or to see the natural stuff or the organic stuff. So that's how these metal sheets and all these came in. And yeah, this was called Trapped. And yeah, and then of course the Pressured Lives, the Jungle of Roads, these are the works that kind of came in when I was looking at the traffic. There were these spaghetti crossings around, the roads were connecting people, but then they were also one of these congested spaces which were honking, and which was very 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 how do I say, it was very vibrant, and yet it was very hollow, because the same roads at night would look like dancing, amongst each other, but during the day they would be full of chaos. So then Pressured Lives was one of the works where I would see my friends, and cousins kind of working with the deadlines and things like that. So that's where the Pressured Lives and all these things kind of came in. And yeah, these are works from that time. So of course, like there was a shift from Shantiniketan to Baroda, and that shift came in from my realization of how I relate to space around me and how the space kind of interacts or talks to people. Like if you're going to an old monument, it's a timeless monument, but the bazaars outside those monuments are really full of a lot of hustle bustle. So the energy changes in both of them. So energy is one thing that was always something that I wanted to catch. The sense of hide and seek was something that I always was interested in. The shadow, the light and shadow of the place, that changes the energy of the space as well. So that also is something that always worked in terms of my language when I want to express something. And yeah, so these are works from that time. So every time I moved from a place to a different place, the experiences of that space kind of revealed things that I would like to express or how I was responding to something. So it was almost like I was looking at myself from a distance and seeing how I'm responding, what I'm responding to, and then making that as the subject of my work. So this was different viewpoints. Then basically talking about how we have many say acquaintances and friends, and everybody has a different viewpoint, and yet we are still connected. So that, and then came a time when the Potter's Market had just begun, and I somehow do not remember how that had happened, how who had started the Potter's Market. I'm kind of forgetting that, but I remember this whole talk about bringing art to kind of to the masses, and so people can see what's happening, and we can go closer to the people and stuff like that. So one of the Potters Market that I attended in the beginning, the first 3 years of Bhopal Potters Market, that is when I was doing things like that. So basically, the idea was to make your work, but in a way more playful manner, way more approachable manner, where people would be able to relate to what you're doing. It's not like how I see a lot of my relatives also saying that, oh, this is all very intellectual, ये तो तुम्हें ही समझ में आएगा. But so the idea was to create something that they would also relate to immediately. So these were some of the three out of the three Potters Market. This is one bit that I have picked up because this was related to some of my other work as well. These were called love dips. So this is where I was also writing for Eklavya publication at that time, and so I was drawing some illustrations for them as well for one of my story, because I was very I still am I'm for drawing I'm very nervous, because that is some, I think, a baggage that I carry from school when we were taught how to draw, and ऐसे नहीं दिखना चाहिए, ऐसे दिखना चाहिए. So that kind of has had stayed on with me. So that when I started doing that for Eklavya publication for one of my stories, that's when it automatically started coming into my work as well. And yeah, these are called love dips. And then there was this whole series that I did with story bowls, because bowls were something that everybody uses. This is for the Potters Market itself. Bowls were something that everyone uses, and when you're adding a story to it, and especially something like Panchatantra stories, people immediately related to them. They wanted to see, okay, which story. So it immediately took them to their childhood, and they started remembering. So it was also a way for me to connect to the masses as such, and interact with them. Remember the old times, remember their stories, share each other's stories, and things like that. So these story bowls are from that time. Then I even ended up writing a little bit along with this. So yeah, so the illustrations kind of came in. Then there was a project that I got from a school of mine, where there was this was all happening in the background. So the reason I'm showing this one is not definitely not clay, but the reason I'm showing this is because it directly affected my work as well. So this was a junior school where kids from first standard to the fourth standard were studying, and they wanted their cultural center to have something which the children could relate to. I said I can make something in clay. They said no, no, we don't want clay because they play football. Ball lagegi toot jayega. So then we decided on iron sheets. So this was a part of that. So this is the, so again here also I brought the panchatantra element. These are some of the details. There are some little terracotta fellows sitting here. There's a monkey, there is a lion here, there's a giraffe, and this is what the overall thing looked like. So see, Panchatantra was happening in the background over there also. It was happening here also. So this was more like, okay, again, open spaces, something that I completely still relate to in a big way. Then there were these houses, the cats, the monkey, everything kind of came in here as well. And of course, my inhibition for colors. So that also I try to break free. So the idea was to try something new and get out of your comfort zone, you know. So this is part of that. And then came these works, which were there was a tile show with Delhi blue pottery, and so these tiles were basically done for that. This is the blue Jokol, where he goes into the city and the blue color kind of falls on him, and you know, that story. So from there on, the Panchatantra series kind of came into my work, and these were the series that I did. And this was very interesting for me also because it was very playful. So I was a bit tired of doing the work that I was doing, and I was like, Achha, now what? Because these are things that I had worked on the wheel, I had done the pipes, I had done the this that, all forms explored. At least at that time I felt like all forms explored. So this suddenly felt like something different and something new. Slab is something that I wasn't always very comfortable with. Pinching was always something that I was always comfortable with. But here I was using slab in terms of different layers, so that it gives you a feeling of books. You're flipping the pages and the story kind of is intertwined within those pages. So the animation also you'll see will be within each page. So this felt interesting. And then the other change happened when I went to Fuping. This was one of my first international residency, and it was with say the other how do I say, we were 18 of us from the Indian. We were supposed to work for the Indian Museum, 18 of us. So all of them were seniors, all of them were people I had seen their works. I used to look up to them and stuff like that. And I had never worked with them. So the beginning was extremely, I was super nervous as to, okay, now because I was very happily sitting and working in my little studio in Indore, and you know, I would, you know, hardly actually know anyone out there. And this was the first time when I was working directly with them. So it was suddenly there was this whole pressure of, oh my God, I have to work right in front of them. I hope I don't fail. I'm sure everybody goes through that. Naturally, I went through that as well. And but it was a fantastic experience. I got to see how everybody works. I got to make new friends again. And so these were the pieces that they were making, and then from those pieces we kind of they were making in terms of, these were the tile pieces, the rooftop tile pieces, and I took some of them. These were taken out of an extruder, so I took them and then worked on them to create this. And this also, you will see the similarity in the forms. So this also is from there only. The drawings are again coming in. This was also interesting because again, I was not pinching, I was not doing anything. I was using the ready-made material that was there and then creating something totally different. So I think again, like I said, that the minute I'm out of my comfort zone, it kind of really drives me better. So this was yeah. After that, we got back. There was this. Then I did these works over here beyond walls, because by that time I had realized that there were lots and lots of walls within myself. I was also trying to figure out myself. I realized there are so many things we block ourselves because of some fear or maybe some inhibitions in ourselves. And you know, of course, the world is out there, it's wide, it's ready to embrace you, but it's you yourself who sometimes shy away from really taking out, going ahead and embracing it. So these works basically spoke of that how do I say it? Um, that little removing the hesitation and trying to go out of those walls or beyond those walls to really embrace what is happening in the outside world. So yes, that. And I have to confess that I love being in my own world. It's fantastic to be in my own dream world, which sometimes doesn't work very well, because you tend to you and your work, it's nice and everything, but you tend to forget there is a real world out there which you have to interact with as well. So but yeah, this so these works were basically talking about removing your own walls within yourself and moving out and embracing it. So it also talked about time, it talked about memory, it talked about, because these were so the shadows, this particular work was supposed to have multiple shadows at the back. And it was to do with how something in your previous experience may have affected or may have brought in something in your mind, which may have blocked or created some walls within you. So it was more about trying to move beyond that. This is again within, so this was again talking about the walls within ourselves and looking at them, different shades, different, again, the space, the hide and seek, the shadows. This is a lovely anagama workshop we did in GBP. This was my first experience. A lot of people asked me after that, "Oh, wouldn't you want to do high firing?" And somehow I was like, "No, no, I still relate to terracotta more." So, but these are very, very treasured pieces. I have still kept them because I don't know when am I going to do another anagama again. So these are works from then, and these I have kept in my studio. Yeah, so this is called Suspended. This is another work. But around this time, there was, this is when I had just got back from China, not just, but like a few years after China. And, suddenly I was in like, I was looking at the art world in a very different manner, because there was this exposure that I got from people around me, all the other artists, the way they were working, everywhere that they were going and stuff like that. And I was someone who was sitting in my studio happily working, but I was very happy to do that. But then, there is always this desire to experience more. And definitely that desire was there in me also, because how much can you really do in your own studio? It's okay, it's nice, but there is always a need to explore further. So there was this pressure, professional pressure as well as psychological pressure, since I was not somebody who would be very comfortable just going out there and doing something. So that pressure, I realized I had started taking by this time, about where my work is, how I'm placed in the whole scenario and stuff like that. And which I think is pretty normal for everybody. And this is around that time, of course, the idea of home, because when you feel out of place somewhere, you look for that space which makes you feel very comfortable, which makes you feel very at home with yourself. So that I was always searching for that space where I would feel completely at home with myself, wherever I'm placed, in whatever situation I'm placed. And I have to confess, I'm extremely camera shy. So yes, these are things that which somewhere or the other kind of bothered you, whether or you could see that these are things I can do, but I'm just not doing because of some inhibition that I kind of have. Anyway, so these are works, again, multiple layers, because each one of us have many layers. The multiple layer element in my work keeps repeating itself because of that. I see myself a particular way here, then another place. So of course I discover my own layers in a way. And then came Gunehar, the shift, yes, in a proper way, because this was one project which came out of the blue. I'll just very quickly go through it, although it has given me a lot, in terms of believing in myself, in terms of relaxing in life. It was one of the major life lessons in for me, something I still treasure, and I live by it. This was a very slow, tiny village in Himachal, very near to Bir and Billing. And this was a residency where each one of us had to do something using the materials that we get in the village itself. So I was the only one who was doing the ceramic thing. The others had one. There was a painter, there was a fabric artist. There were other people as well. For me, I decided I'll take the clay from the mountains, and then I think I just kind of, completely got super excited about the whole project. So we got a lot of clay from the mountains, and then I realized that I had kind of taken a bit of a very big job in a very limited time. We had 40 days, actually 30 days. 10 days were for the exhibition, so I was supposed to finish it within that time frame, with the rain happening, with the village going up and down. And I chose a spot which was basically the spot for the landslide. So they were making these cemented boulders over there, and the idea was to make it more organic looking. So then I got help from the lady in the village itself, and she kind of helped me. So the residency was very interesting because we were supposed to live in the village, use the stuff of the village, interact with the villagers by ourselves. So it was more like, it seemed very authentic. It felt like we were becoming a part of the village, and not just, artists who are coming from outside doing our work and getting out. So again, one the beginning, I started panicking when I was supposed to sieve all this clay, this clay. And then I saw these ladies going very comfortably, aram se baat karte karte, chai peete peete, they are just happily sieving. And then I realized that whatever amount of work that I would have done in 2 days, they also finished the same amount of work. And that's when I realized that we city people are just hurrying for no reason. The work gets done, it gets done at the same amount of speed, same amount of time. You can relax, and it's okay to relax. So that is one thumb rule that I carry with me even today. um, when I panicked, my first step was to go back to the basics. I said, when all our potters, we've seen all our potters, the traditional potters, how they work without anything. We were just given empty rooms, and we were supposed to create a shop over there. So my shop was called the Mitti Ki Dukan, since my project was to do with clay. And yeah, so this is what I thought of making, a similar kind of uh, structures that will go on the basically thing, and basically making it look more connected to the village. the cemented area. So this is how it was all drying outside, and there were very, very interesting episodes that happened. Suddenly, guy aa jati thi wahan se. Then I had to protect my work that, oh no, 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 don't come this side, go that side, you know. And so then we had to look for a space to create a level space to make a furnace. The clay was being brought on these khatchars, and this is where I made this. Where is this girl? This girl is Monica. She throughout helped me out, and fantastic. I'm still in touch with her. She got married recently. Fantastic female. She was so kicked about this whole thing, the whole project. So anyway, we made a kiln. We brought everything from up there down here. So this project basically tested me physically, mentally, and it was beautiful. It never felt like it was a lot of work, because somehow I think the whole idea of going down to the basics made it so much fun that each and every otherwise challenging situation is remembered with a lot of joy, because we enjoyed doing that, we enjoyed finding solutions for that. And anyway, so this was yeah, put in together, and then I fired this there. So you can see the kiln also is on a bit of a slope, but this was the only flat area that we could find over there. Yeah, then to make it look a little more authentic, I put the slates over here so that it looks more like a city. This was the space, this was the thing that they had built to stop the landslide from here. And these were really, really tall. The steps were really tall. So in between it was raining, there was a whole lot of things. So the water would basically, my shop was also on a slant, so the water would come like that, and it was just about to enter my shop. So I had to build a makeshift dam over there, a wall kind of a thing, taki pani samne divert ho jaye. And it was amazing. It was, this whole experience was fantastic. The way the villagers related to it, each one of them had a story with this, the way they connected with the work, to the process, everything. So this is that work. And the takeaway from this basically was, um, in life, to just relax and to slow down and to be, and to most importantly work with your instincts. I think that was something that I would subconsciously do, but unless you're in a situation like this, you don't really consciously adapt to that or start using it in your daily life in a city. Normally in a city, you will forget that you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. So this was another exhibition by the same curator, Frank. He decided that he wanted to do a show in the woods under the pine trees. And so this was more like a space where it was like a crossroads for the shepherds, the local shepherds. This was their resting space, and for the tourists to go up to beer billing. So this was the crossroad for them, almost like symbolically a meeting point for the urban and for the rural. So we chose this spot, and there was a photographer who was exhibiting, and the idea was to bring the work out of the gallery. This again was, and we were told about a year before to create work for a space like this. So naturally I was thinking in terms of light, outdoor space, shadow, and things like that. So these works came from that space, and these were displayed here. The local people who were going up to the mountains, everybody stopped, they would come here, the villagers were included, they were also made part of the whole exhibition. So the interactions, again, the interactions, the kind of interactions that one which I thought I would like to have when we were doing Potter's Market, which now of course has changed quite a bit. But that kind of an interaction we had over here, because there were these kids who were coming in, you actually saw your work in the nature, responding to the light and shadow and sounds outside, because these were dense forest spaces which had some little bit of clearing for the resting place. And you would always hear this little cricket going, trake, 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 like that. It was beautiful. So there were people just randomly walking in, and there were these little trails that were around. So the works on the board, I had hung some of my works like that. There were some works which were on the trees. They were tied up, the 2D works, and these were the visitors that came. So you can see here there is one of the wall works, and these are all the village kids and everybody. They kind of on the final day they prepared a dance and everything. So it was more like a village festival as well. And yeah, so this again was one of the challenges, something that brought me out of the comfort zone of having a certain light in a certain manner in a gallery. Then you have to think about, okay, if I'm putting it in the forest, how do I hang it? Where do I hang it? What do I do? How does the light fall? What do I do with the dust? And things like that. So it was amazing, this experience. These were the works that basically um, were for that particular show. This project was, I think, 2016 or 17. 17, I think. I'm sure there's a date somewhere here. 16 or 17, I guess. Sorry. I missed the date. Sorry. 16 or 17. Yeah. So these works were from there again. So these particular forms also came in thinking of the forest, the leaves, and the whole organic feel of the things that you find in a forest. This was coming from a house in a forest. So yeah, light, shadow, and then Latvia happened. So from here onwards, again, suddenly I started becoming extremely excited about work, extremely excited about my practice. Also because there was constantly something changing. I started to relax, most importantly. I think from Gunehar, that whole pressure of where you are, what you're doing, whether it's even working out or not, whether people are even being able to relate to your work or not, all of that just vanished. It was almost like I have nothing to prove to anybody. I don't want to prove anything to myself also. I'm just enjoying my practice. That is something that Gunehar gave me, which I think I'll forever treasure. The joy of just making without really thinking about, or having any pressure about where it fits or how it looks and stuff like that. It is a practice, and it just kind of, it's almost as natural as you breathing. So it's a natural thing. Something I think we forget under the pressure of our professional lives as such. So yeah, then Latvia happened. This was again a very, very lovely, fantastic residency that I had. Again, very different kind of people from all over the world, different experiences. These are the works that I did over there. The obsession with home, I think. The material was different. We had a little workshop of smoke firing over there, and a lot of fun because it was almost like, somehow similar kind of people kind of got together, and the whole thing became more like a family. It was such joy to work with this group. So I think these three community, I shouldn't be calling it community, but yeah, it was group effort. Everybody was doing their own work, but it was coming together in a very selfless, in a very individual, and yet in a very free manner, without any kind of uh, you know how do I say, any kind of complexities, uh, human complexities for that matter. So it was such joy to do what we were doing at that time. This is a work that I did in Turkey, and this is coming back to India. This was called Shifting Boundaries. I'll just go quickly. This is again different mediums. I was using a lot of paper pulp because something fragile, something impermanent, with something permanent in terms of clay, because clay, even if it breaks, it just stays on for centuries, you know. So the light shadow kind of played a very important role here, because that would keep changing. So shifting boundaries are like how your equations keep shifting with different experiences that you have. And here we change again. I This is when we started thinking of moving to a new place. We sold our old house, and I had a lot of work lying with me. So the one thing that happened was that I started reusing some of my work. A lot of cement and all that started coming in. So reusing that work, because I could definitely throw it away, but sometimes you have some forms which you want to again, uh, maybe use it as a memory, but in a new context. So I mean, how much work am I going to create, and where am I going to keep it? Even if I sell it, I want to continue doing it. The ones that are not sold, that are broken, which I can't sell, I would like to use it in a different context. That is something that I still feel that is important, because you obviously you don't want to stop your practice, but there's as much space, like there's limited space. So yeah, these were pieces that were from a different work which came together, and in the right context, because they were part of something else, but they came together to create something else as a fragment of the memory of that old thing. And at the same time, we were moving from our old house to making a new one. So this was something that I was in a way leaving behind the life I was born in, and moving on to the life I would build ahead. So for me, although of course we all knew that we have to move from that place, so it was not something that emotional in that way. But in many ways, I realized there are very very subtle things. I'm sure many of you who moved around may have felt it. I didn't expect myself to feel it, but then when I went through it, I realized what really happens. um, there are very subtle shifts of identity. There are subtle shifts of dynamics around you and things like that. So these works that were in transit, there was a shadow playing, there was material play, that was different materials. So these were all talking about the changing times, the changing atmosphere, the changing dynamics, the mixture of everything. Lots of impermanence out there, lots of mixed feelings as well. So yeah. How I fire my work? Well, there's a question. I fire my work. Earlier, it was definitely gas furnace. I have to show you something of the gas furnace also. I should better be quick, because I think we are almost short of time. I'll come to that. So we moved the house. This is the shifting. There was this little balcony that I had in one of the flats, and from there we made. I did this one work which was called nesting. I'll move a little fast because there's something else that I want to show ahead. Yeah. So this this is called nesting, and it was with the. These are again things that I was doing during the lockdown. There was a lot of cement coming in, because of course we were making a new house, so we were using cement. So also talking about yeah. So this is during the lockdown. I had no clay that time, no studio, no place where I could make clay as such. And so whatever little I had, I was playing around with the materials. This was one of the works, walls of the same circle. So again, the dynamics when they were changing, I realized, basically we are all the same, we are all connected, everything is a circle, because at the end it just felt like a full circle for me, coming, finishing everything, doing everything, coming back to that point which I knew always that I was supposed to do, the house bit. So it did feel like a full circle, because you were completing a cycle of life in which you were born, and then beginning a new one. So a lot of my work had this thing of coming full circle. The walls came in because there were little things in the changing dynamics, that it is a circle, and yet there are so many walls in between. Why are there walls? Why are there boundaries? There was, whether you look at ourselves as individuals within ourselves, or whether you look out in the world, there are all sorts of you know um, uh, things that basically segregate, that compartmentalize. There is one big hole. I don't Anyway, so yeah, so there are these walls of the same circle. It basically talks about a circle being a whole, and then there being little partitions out there. And yeah, this is beyond projections. Sorry, this is beyond projections. So this is so there were now I had started. So there was so they were dismantling the house, the old house, and also the house that where we were supposed to make a new house. That place also, there was an old house, which the plot that we had bought. So they were dismantling that, and that is when I saw all these walls breaking. And that was also the time when Indore had become a smart city, and there was a lot of road widening happening. So a lot of dismantling of the houses around the roads was happening, and it was very strange to see all of that. It was very they were just walls. People were not even living there most of the time, at least the plot that we purchased. But there was still so much inside those walls, so there were projections, there were so automatically then I would build a work, and then I would break it purposely, and then I would add another material to it, to make the contrast, to create the idea of impermanence over there. So yes, this is paper mache, along with one of the pieces. This is called projections. Again, what we project and what we actually are, like a shadow thing. Then we had to change another flat because the other guy wanted that thing. So I had another very narrow little balcony to work in. So most of the work kind of spilled on into the room. In between, I had these little commission works, which were really helpful to divert my mind from the real world of making the house. I do call it a crash course of the real world, because I was very happy amongst my artist friends within the art world, and then suddenly you go out there and you have to do all sorts of calculations of kitni bori cement and kitna this and kitna that, and that was quite something. But anyway, so this is one of the work that I did for the Northern Clay Center. There was a show out there. This was a journey of a circle. Again, the circle that I finished. So this was kind of my journey of the life I was born in, coming from that space. This was nesting. There were about 8, 9 pieces, and they were hung together. So I basically use terracotta clay and fire it really high to get this kind of a toasty look. And this was fragments of a memory. This again was coming from the house that I've left. The pieces that are there. By that time, the Ukraine war had started and stuff like that. I think around that time there was a lot of stuff going on around that time. So it was also talking about these. Little pieces that are being left behind, as pieces of history, but full of memory and full of some kind of life which people would relate to. So temperature, sometimes 1220, 1200, 1150 would be the natural temperature. Like usually I fire at 1150, and sometimes go up to 1200 and 1220 as well. So these were all pieces made first, and again, like there were memories, and then you were kind of putting it like a museum piece out there. So I would make a complete piece, and then I would break them try and remove part of it with water, dissolve it in water, some of it, and then I would work on the work further, because it was actually more like dissolving in time and space, your memories and your ideas, your house. Yeah, I do make my own clay. Yes. First, so nowadays I have started buying clay and then drying it completely and then adding whatever I want to add. Sometimes, depending on what I want to make. So sometimes I add a lot of ash, not ash, sorry, sawdust in it to make it really porous. It also depends on how you're loading it. So in gas furnace, you can achieve a lot of that, the shade, the colors, and the things, how you loading would bring, especially in terracotta clay, it will bring a lot of variations in color. These are all. This was again. This was all. This was these three works were basically in Korea. They were in the Gimhae Museum. They were in a show over there. This was more like from the um, lockdown period. And then this was one of the biggest disasters that I very amusingly enjoy showing. So there was a mix up of clay, and I didn't realize there was a mix up of clay. I finished this work and then I put it in my gas grill, and then I fired. And halfway through, I'm looking through the peephole and I can't see anything over here. And I stopped the firing naturally. And then the next day, when I opened, this is what comes out. So naturally, the clay was not supposed to go up very high. I think Sandeep will be able to really tell me what happened here. But this was the time when I realized that I was not aligned with myself, because there was a lot happening and there was a lot of shifting, there was a lot of packing, a lot of this, a lot of that. And that is the first time I realized that if I am exhausted and I'm not aligned, I need to put a stop there. But then there were things, there were projects, which of course I continued here. And I realized over a period of time that I was goofing up even with my packing. So these were the works. These are again part of the same uh, the fragments series. Uh, it was after this work that I decided to sit back a little, take a deep breath, and figure out what I want to do, how I want to do. Because a lot had happened. We had shifted twice. We had packed so many times that I think I was just too wary of packing. And so when I was packing my work, I wasn't really packing it properly at all. So I realized there was a lot of work that was breaking as well by the time it was reaching the place. Anyway, so that happened. Cement again is coming. This was the show. After that, I decided to take a break for like a good 6 months, 7 months, which I had not realized that I needed. But I think that is another thing that, like when you are working, you're constantly working and you are doing something or the other with the other things that you have outside of the art world. And there are times when you don't realize that you need to just pause and take stock of whatever has happened, and breathe a little, let it all settle, and then get back to what you're doing. If there's so this then finally, uh, kind of this was after that. So this was a show. This was a show in Art Heritage, and these were the works there. Again, talking about borders. By that time, there were, I think, two wars by that time, or one war. I don't know, but yeah, of course, there's a lot of friction around about everything. Some Kaveri is asking me, do you use paper clay? I'm looking at how thin the slabs are. No, 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 no. I do not use paper clay. The slabs are not very. They would be about this thin, not very thin, but they are blocks. So they are structured in such a way that they would not bend. And this was about a good height, and this is a separate part, again for packing reasons, because I was screwing up with my packing. So yes, this was a separate part and this was a separate part. And so this is called inside outside. Again, something that is outside for some. Again, the idea of borders. So when you move into a new house or a new space, or if you're in a new country, or if you're an immigrant, or if you're anything, I mean, anywhere, you put that particular situation anywhere, there is so much of a difference of dynamic, because the idea of this inside outside came in because the inside can be somebody's outside, whereas somebody's outside can be my inside. So it's very funny because who decides what is what. So this work came from that space, because suddenly there was these demarcations of boundaries, even with something as small as moving the house from one place to another. Um, that was very interesting. Then, of course, there were these. Then finally, I was like, okay, I want to feel the air, and these works came from there. These were the fragrance of the unknown. I wanted something as lyrical as going back to my Santiniketan space, the core of everything, the core of things moving organically, because those are the things that I think I understand now from where I function, where if things are moving more organically, more naturally, um, I think I perform better there. So yeah, this was Whispers of the Wind, again, space within, I think, in my fantasy world. So these works are coming from there. I don't think I have to explain Whispers of the Wind, but yeah. So these are the little playful things that I was doing after that, just to enjoy myself. Uh, Oh, though these are mounted with, there were little knobs that I made at the back with holes, and then I added the wire. So there was a wire that is turned into a hook at the back. So the thing can just be put in like that. This is with a stand. This is about it. These are these little playful things, and unfortunately, again, here, this is when I realized that I need to really look back into my packing, because all of these three works had some damage before going for a show. These were tiny pieces. Again, I'm looking at something, making something small and intimate, because big is nice, big is very there, big is right there, but maybe I'm in a phase where I want to make something more intimate, something that I can hold in my hand, something that I can treasure, I can keep. So yes, I was moving towards the smaller format. And yeah, this is called the Wings. Yeah, that is it. I'm sorry, I think I have taken too much time. If there is any time for questions, anything anyone wants to answer, question, ask.
It was the presentation was fabulous. The works are amazing.
Thank you.
Yes, everyone is loving it, as you can see in the group chat. So yeah, we have had someone asking questions regarding. Yes, Tinny, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Hi, Mudita. This was
Hi.
lovely, and I loved how you explained everything and your relation with your entire journey. I have a very tiny question. You just responded to someone about a long piece where you said the top part was attached separately.
Yes, yes.
So, how was the top part attached, if you could?
I don't have it right now. So basically, what I do is I make hollow space. So it's the best way of making it in pieces. If you make something hollow, and then the other part, like how you put a lid over a kettle, it's something
Right.
as simple as that. So the top portion had two little slabs coming down like that, and then the pipes, they would just
Hmm.
go into that. So you just had to put it like a lid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So, like a little gallery kind of a thing where this would go and sit, the top part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So the
All right.
bottom two pipes, the straight pillars that were there were hollow. So this particular thing would just go inside and the slab would show on top. So it's exactly like
Okay.
how a lid would go into a kettle.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Something about your plan design and process of work before you start making. So process of work, basically, I write a lot. And over a period of time when I probably I'm having conversations with my own self, I try and figure out where I am in life, what, like, especially when things like this happen, when work is breaking in your packing and stuff like that, I suddenly feel. And most importantly, I think one of the most basic things that I didn't really say, when I stop enjoying doing something, that is when I know something is wrong. I mean, that is the reason this whole presentation was called Keeping It Simple and Effortless. So that is when you try and figure out what is happening and where were you that you are not enjoying, or what exactly is the core problem, or what exactly. So those things, whether they are disturbing you, whether they are attracting you, like the whispers of the wind, those are the things that become my subject. And from there I start looking at forms as to how would I want to represent, or how would I want to express something that I'm feeling, or something that I would want to express to the world outside. So that's how I reach that part. And making for me is very, very fast. So it's more than making. I think I spend more time thinking about what I want to make rather than the making as such. And somebody asked something else in terms of your process. Do you work with the idea and follow it with forms, or the other way around? Actually, it can be constant interaction, as in it doesn't have to be an idea and that it can change in between. It can change at the end. Like I said, there are some works that I have, and they are sitting in my studio. They've been exhibited somewhere as well. They are not sold, they are sitting with me, and I know they are just there. And then there is something that I feel that I might be able to add to it, or put it in a different context, or use it in some other way. So I actually end up using that as well. So it's a very fluid way. There is no this way or that way. It's very organic. It's how I'm responding to things around me. So nothing as a rule, basically. But mostly it's coming from that space which I feel very deeply about, and which I would like to share, or um, show or express. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something else?
Any more questions? Please
Uh,
share. It's about making work that is put outdoors, dust, creatures, etc.
Oh, creatures, fantastic, because while I'm making that time also, there are these spiders that are making webs out there, and it's fantastic. It's really lovely to have them come and make a little home in the home, kind of a thing. So I think one thing that has helped me for keeping works outside for the outdoors is the higher temperature, because even if it is terracotta and I'm firing it high, it definitely becomes much, much stronger as compared to the lower temperature, which I used to fire at one point. But now I'm firing it much higher so that it can, and then of course you can wash it off. It's dust is not a problem. You just pipe dal ke do. That answers, yeah.
Good evening, Mudita ji.
Hi.
Hello, good evening, Mudita ji. This is
Hi.
Ashish.
Yeah, Ashish, tell me.
Yeah. So Mudita ji, what I notice, most of artwork you have done in red clay, and I didn't notice stoneware bodies. So is there any reason you used terracotta clay most of the time?
Uh, yes, there was a time in my Baroda days I used a lot of stoneware clay, and there was something but stoneware very, very beautifully fuses completely. And terracotta, however high you fire, it will still absorb a lot of water. That I have seen over a period of time, it does absorb water. So unless I'm like firing it very, very high, and when it's like completely fused, some of the later works have completely fused. But I like the softness of terracotta, which when I'm firing in stoneware clay, or when I'm using the stoneware clay, it becomes like a stone. So the softness and the color of terracotta, however high you're firing, that I relate to more. It feels more basic to me. I think maybe it comes from the days in Santiniketan and seeing the red around. Maybe it comes from the whole, going back to the basics of the red clay with that the traditional potters also are using. But somehow, very naturally, I kind of respond to the terracotta clay as well as the color. Also, while making terracotta has a very different feel. That I must add, because when you're working with stoneware has a very different feel. When you're working with building with terracotta, terracotta has an absolutely different feel. I find terracotta more organic. I personally, it's not necessary that others would also.
Thank you, Mudita Di. But when I studied in Santiniketan, so most of the teacher told me you are not using glaze, so we can't your artwork as a ceramic artwork. So where I can find some similarities between you and your artworks and my artworks.
That is something that I was asked many, many times in Baroda, because that was the time not many people were working in terracotta at all. Although Himmat has been working in terracotta since forever. So I don't know where this question of, terracotta being part of ceramic or not ceramic comes from. But I think personally, I feel whatever material you're using, we are beyond the time of segregating things depending on material. It doesn't have to be ceramic artist. It can just be artist. You are here to express yourself, I'm here to express myself. It can be any material I use or any material you use. As far as trying to work in glaze is concerned, I think you should explore everything and then work with whatever you relate to most.
Thank you, Mudita.
On the similar line, we have two questions which say that what is the temperature of do you fire your terracotta, and have you ever fired about 1220?
No, I haven't fired above 1220. 1220 is the maximum. And after that disaster so different terracotta clays fire differently. That was also a terracotta clay. I think that was Bahadurgarh terracotta clay, which does not go very high. So please do not use that at 1220 or beyond 1000 degrees centigrade. The clay that I have been using is mostly the clay, that red clay that I get from Morbi, and that easily goes to 1220 and 1150 to around say. So that also you will need to test which one goes where. The big disaster that you saw was from the, I think, lower temperature terracotta. So yeah, what was the question actually? Sorry.
What temperature do you fire your clay, and have you ever gone about 1220?
No, not about 1220, and between 1150 to 1220, depending on what color I want.
Yeah, Rachna, you have some question.
Yeah. Hi, Mudita. Very lovely work and very
Hi.
thoughtful. I just wanted to ask, like, when you were starting up, most of your work is very deep and very, personal in nature. What you were thinking about or what you were going through life, you turned that into your work. Were you ever felt during that time that, I'm, maybe this work would be so unrelatable for other people, and that kind of feeling of maybe not being recognized for your work or something like
Yes,
that?
not being recognized for my work all the time. I feel it now also. I think that's part and parcel of the journey. It is something that you'll always feel and you'll always not feel. You will always feel sometimes that, oh, is it good enough? And you will, I mean, as a student also, we always had that thing that, acha, is it really working out or not? But I think what's most important over a period of time that I have understood is that if it's authentic, it will speak regardless of what you're doing, how you're doing. That is precisely the reason probably they see a practice as a practice and not just as a work, because it's not just one phase that you are looking at. You're looking at the entire journey. Anybody, any famous artist, any non-famous artist, anybody that you see, even traditional potters, it's been going on for generations. So whether being recognized, not recognized, the identities will keep changing. But whether it's authentic within yourself, whether it sits well within yourself or not, is, I think, the most important thing. As far as this getting insecure bit is concerned, yeah, that's all part and parcel. It's a
Uh,
phase. You will get in, get out, get in, get out. It's like that.
Yeah, one more thing I want to ask because I also love to work with terracotta. You said like you also shifted in apartments and how you manage the guest firing then? Do you still do the guest
Oh,
firing? Yeah.
so here's the thing. So I was very lucky enough to have a friend who had oh, I missed saying that. A friend at whose place I had kept the kiln. And so I would make all the work here, take it down 4 stories, put it in the car, take it to her place, load it there, come back, go there, fire, and then bring it back. So that was really nice of her to do that for the entire 3 years. I did that, and then when this disaster happened, I realized, because in there were some changes in the circumstances also over here. Then I realized that I need to move on because I can't stay in front of the kiln for 7 years. So now I have moved on to the electric kiln. So yeah.
We have
And
okay.
sorry, and you are able to attain all these organic colors using the electric kiln also.
Mm, not really. So if I want the smoke fired effect, I make it a point that I fire and then smoke fire them separately. Yeah.
Okay. So Zaida has a question. Is the sheen in some of your works burnishing only, or do they coat them with anything post-firing?
Smoke fire. A lot of it is smoke fire.
But the sheen
Fire
that
and then, yeah, the sheen, and then you seal it. But smoke fire does give this the sheen, and if you want like really, really solid color sheen, then you have to find some goats and some goat shit that you add to the smoke firing, which, or maybe very, very oily leaves. I think neem leaves are the best for smoke firing so far, what I have figured.
so we did
I
see
have a
hue
question.
of,
Sorry.
yeah, we did
Sorry.
see a hue of green, yellow in some of your works. That is because of
Green, yellow.
a little bit of the, there was a variation a bit.
That was the gas thing, or maybe some slips that I may have used.
Um,
Yeah, Rachna ji, you can go ahead and ask. Rachna ji, you can ask a question. Oh, who had?
she's already answered it. I was going to ask, have you ever used slips?
Yes,
So
yes,
she,
yes, yes.
uh,
I have also started using a lot of stains, which you may have seen in some of the works, the round ones which had some stain in it.
orange color. Was
Uh,
there?
Blue and the green and all that.
Yes, yes. But
And
what was the orange color?
I think must be either the stain or the scroll of time, that all.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
that is part of the firing. That is
Okay.
the terracotta clay which I had purposely basically put them all together,
Mm,
so that there are some areas where the flame doesn't reach at all, and some areas
mm,
which are like totally coated with flame, and
mhm,
placed it in a certain way in the gas furnace. So the
mm.
areas which were just totally stuck to each other got that little round reddish thing with the of the terracotta, the reddish, the orangish terracotta, and the
Okay.
rest of it became totally black.
Uh-huh. Beautiful work.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Rajni. Thank you
On
so
the
much.
similar line, Koeli has a question. What is your favorite way to add color to your pieces?
Uh, I think slips and stains.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the most easiest actually. That's why.
Yeah. Priyanka, you have a question. Can you please?
Hi,
I
fabulous work, I must say, and
thank
it's a
you.
treat to watch your work every time.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned you use Morbi clay. So I started, I experimented with Morbi clay about 2 years back. Introduced to it at Calcutta in Falguni studio. So I did try firing it. I fired it up to 1280 as well.
Mhm.
However, I want to know one thing. Do you follow, since you fire in the electric and I do too, do you follow any specific cooling cycle for that clay? Because a few of my pieces, not all, a few of them cracked on the cooling side. And
Were
I have,
were they functional
sorry,
pieces? Were they functional pieces?
yes, functional pieces. So I am not able to understand why it's cracking. Well, a few came out perfectly fine, but a few of them just on the cooling side, they cracked.
So I'm also very new to the electrical one. Two,
Mm-hmm.
the reason I don't have that problem is because there's sculptural work. So in any way, structurally, I make sure because I sometimes I go through multiple firings. I don't do only one firing. Almost all my works have multiple firings, whether it's smoke firing, whether it's the normal firing, whether it's adding some slip or something on it. So
Right,
for the work to go through multiple firings, I have to make sure that the structure of the work is strong and stable. Uh,
right.
each time, it goes through that much of stress and change. So probably that is the reason I have not had that kind of an issue of cracking.
Okay.
Yes, if in case I have used a different clay for a different temperature, there has been a few times when it has bent a little, or deformed because I have placed it in a different manner. Like if it was
Mm-hmm.
a C-shaped thing and I placed it like this, then naturally it will go like that.
Right,
It should be placed like this.
right.
So
I haven't had any issue with any deformity. It's just the cracking that I don't know, maybe something, the cooling side is happening too fast. So I just thought maybe you should know.
yeah, okay.
All
No,
right.
no idea.
Janvi has a question.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Do you ever feel disconnected with your work after making it? Not in the process?
Always, always. Once it's done, it's done. In the sense, and especially when once it's in the gallery, I always feel disconnected because the process is over. I have nothing left to do with it, so my communication with it is over, and yeah, it's almost like it's at the end of its journey. There's no possibility left, so it's kind of dead. So yes, it always feels like that unless it's sitting somewhere and then one fine day I look at it and I'm like, अच्छा ठीक है इसको मैं इसको ऐसे कर सकती हूँ. So let me just fire it like this, or maybe add something, or maybe break it and then use it in a different way, in a different context. That way, then it starts with a new journey. So I relate to it again. But if the work is complete, like especially if it's coming back from a gallery to me, I'm like, oh God, now what do I do with it? I might throw it away, because I just can't relate to it. So if a work breaks, normally when it's coming to me and it breaks, I don't mind. But when it's going for an exhibition, it's breaking, I feel horrible about it because, it's somebody is curating it and has kept some space for me and it's not reaching there. So then I'm on a super bad guilt trip. But if it's coming to me and breaking, I'm like, हाँ ठीक है, let's make something new. It's like that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Love your work.
Thanks.
Zaida has another question. There's a tendency of speaking in animated narratives. Was animation ever a part of your journey?
No. I think that's a way of hiding my discomfort in public, I guess. I'm just being honest. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah, I
Hello.
think.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
I made some work and I coated it with wax. since I only used underglazes to finish the work. But now I want to use clear glaze on it. It is already high fired. It's fired to cone 6 and it's stoneware clay. Now I can't figure out how to glaze it using using clear glaze. Is it possible or it's not possible now? Because I can't get the wax off, I think.
I think maybe you can just fire it once at a lower temperature to get the wax, let the wax burn. No?
Also, Gitika,
The
if
thing
you
is,
put
it has legs. Sorry.
also if you put hot water on this, the wax will come off. Boiling
But
water.
then I can't put it in the kiln because, they say that if you fired it and if you put water, then you can't fire it again. And the piece has legs, so it is actually standing, the vase is standing on legs, and one of the legs broke. So why I want to fire it with clear glaze is to strengthen it. Right now I've joined it with what do you call Fevikwik, and I want to fire it with high glaze so that it strengthens and it's usable.
If I were you, I would make a new one.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there are too many problems here. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, if you're in the process, it's best to because somewhere or the other you just trying
Hmm.
on jugaad to correct
Hmm.
something that, because if the leg is broken, you fixed it with the quick fix. Unless you have a
Hmm.
timeline issue or something, a deadline, I would really
Hmm.
suggest just make a new one, a fresh piece with all your problems
Hmm.
sorted, a fresh start.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I agree.
I'm sure it's not help, as in it's not
No, it's
really
okay.
help,
It's
but
not
yeah.
such a big thing. I'm still learning and exploring the possibilities. What can be done, and what cannot be done, we have to accept it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Okay, I think we'll stop it here.
Yeah.
So